we have another betrayal. Not only our own Prime Minister Rishi Sunak betrayed us with Brexit, we now have Keir Starmer as potential future Prime Minister betraying the British borders. Yes, this is about the potential agreements between the UK under Keir Starmer and the European Union. These are the headlines that you probably have seen by now. Labour are ready to open doors to European Union's asylum seekers. The Daily Telegraph said Starmer plots to a new deal to take EU migrants into the United Kingdom. This all goes back to Keir Starmer's new thing, and that basically is going around Europe, it's going around the world. He's on a tour, essentially, to pretend that he's very good on the international stage. So he prepares the public opinion, public image, that you start seeing him as a leader. That's the whole idea behind these political publicity stunts. But one of the things that they are doing is that the Labour Party are going to scrap the Rwanda plan while spending £160 million on working on this new EU migrant deal that will force the UK to take in about 100,000 migrants each year. Now, 100,000 migrants is not a fixed number, by the way, and I'm going to explain how some people have came up with that figure. But if the number's around 100k a year, after a few years, we will get to 1 million. And by the way, it's never going to stop at 100k. We already have massive numbers legally and illegally. So we're going to have millions of people coming in over the course of a few years. But the reason this is actually happening when it comes to this idea of this EU migrant deal is because the UK will comprise 13% of the EU's total 520 million population, and therefore have to take in 100,000 of EU's 1 million migrant arrivals last year. So if you look at the numbers last year, based on those numbers, the UK, if we were in the agreement now, we would have to take in about 100k. But as you know, and as I know, these numbers will go up every single year, as it has over the last few years. So that 1 million is going to be much higher in the next few years. And if hypothetically, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, God forbid, makes this deal with the European Union, then we might actually see massive numbers every single year. But it's okay, because he's doing this deal because he wants to stop the people smugglers by legally bringing in everybody. Absolute insanity. The figures are now being, the figures that we talked about are being pushed by the Tories because it's a great opportunity for the Tory party. They come from a Council of the EU document. So it's an official figure published this summer in June around the proposal for regulating asylum and migration management. Clause 31 of the document says that the distribution of migrants within an EU sharing arrangement, like what Keir Starmer wants, would be based on the size of the population and the economy of the member state. So this is also one other thing, by the way. We're not a member of the European Union. We already rejoined the Horizon and, of course, the European Space Agency and everything else, space program. And Keir Starmer wants to join the Migrant Deal. We also had Theresa May signing up to the EU Defence Union, basically the EU Army. We have basically so many programs and schemes that we are basically joining or rejoining after Brexit, which basically makes Brexit completely redundant at this point, because what's the point of having an independent and sovereign country if you're getting your government to join these schemes and programs without getting the public consent, by the way? It's also not democratic. Now, John Rentoul said on Twitter that we didn't have a useful returns agreement when we were inside the EU. This is basically a sky pie, as John would say. That's actually a good point. Those who say, well, if we had stayed in the European Union, we could have been around the table. Yeah, but that didn't work. Well, did it? So even when we were part of the European Union, there was no real workable policy around this. Now, this is quite interesting because Harry Cole from The Sun said, I think there is going to be a bit of a row tomorrow about the fact that Keir Starmer is trying to take us slightly closer as a nation back into the center of Europe. And actually, that's so true, because he could publicly come and say, Starmer, as he has recently, I don't want to rejoin the European Union, Brexit is over, but he can still do it through the back door. And slowly and surely, just like what Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt have been doing with all the other stuff, slowly take us back to all these other programs voluntarily. It's essentially like signing up to a treaty without signing up to the treaty itself officially. So, but we're going to keep an eye on this, because things are getting slightly concerning now when it comes to the next general election, because the Tory party are all over the place as usual, and the Labour Party, who wants you to believe that they are technically centrists, whatever that means, they are coming up with very, very extreme policy ideas at times. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.